Warning, this podcast contains spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Scaredy Cat, have a scary chat. Scaredy Cat with Rob and Ash.
Welcome to Scaredy Cat. I am Robbie,
And I'm Ash.
and this is the podcast where somebody who loves horror films
And someone else who likes them not quite so much.
watch, review, and talk about them. So, how are you, Ashley?
I'm pretty good. Had a long day. My tum-tum hurts a little bit. But other than that, I'm alright.
You got the uckies in your tuxies?
Yes.
I think that's a saying.
The uckies in my tuxies.
Ickies in your tixies?
My tum-tum is
A bum.
bummed about the way it feels right now.
So, you talked about wanting to do more straight-up horror films.
Okay.
So, I found one that could...
Just one? Just the one?
There's only one.
Huh.
There's only one left.
That's bizarre.
I think we've done like 16 now.
You would think.
There's none left.
So we've finished all of them.
All of them.
Look at us go.
After Hellraiser, it was all downhill.
Oh, thank God.
It's called The Autopsy of Jane Doe from 2016.
Okay.
What do you think it's about?
I'm actually really excited about this.
Okay.
Because you know that I love true crime.
Mhm.
Like, a lot. Like, I hate horror movies. I hate all of it. But I could fucking, like,
Gobble up some true crime.
yes. I could watch Law & Order SVU sun up to sundown.
And you do.
And I do. If it's on, like, TBS, which we don't have, but if we did, when we did, it's on all day. I'd watch it. I've seen every episode of Law & Order SVU probably 2 or 3 different times. Because when we were in Turkey, we didn't have access to Netflix because Netflix doesn't exist in Turkey because of licensing or whatever. But we did have Hulu. And I would watch the fuck out of some Law & Order. I love it.
Which was the one with Vincent D'Onofrio in it?
Law & Order CI, Criminal Intent. Vincent D'Onofrio is the shit.
And then who switched out for him? It was Jeff Goldblum?
I think for like a minute, and then, because he left the show, and it was just, what was his partner's name? I don't
Huxley.
remember. No, I don't remember her
Huxtable.
name. But it just wasn't as good, so they
Jenny Craig.
just cut it loose.
Carrie Fisher.
You're just saying stuff.
Saint Mary
Yes, it was her name was Saint Mary.
of the Third Cross.
Sure. Why not?
So, what do you think it's about?
So I think it has like a true crime angle. So I think that there is probably like a detective, probably a lady.
Most
She's
likely.
a newer detective trying to earn her stripes or whatever the fuck you do when you're a detective. And she gets put on this real shithole case where this chick washes up on shore. She's only a torso. She has no head. She has no fingers. She has
Just boobies.
no boobs.
No boobs.
Just tummy and back, and that's it. Like full just tummy, back, torso. And
Like
that's
a
it.
connector set of person.
Yes.
Um,
And there's 0 identifiers, no tattoos, no freckles, no weird scars, nothing. So her job is to figure out who this person is. So she starts working it out, working the case, as you do. And then every time she goes home, there's a new piece of her body in a different place in the detective's house.
how many more pieces of body could you get before you could figure out who it was, though?
Well, it depends on what parts of the body you get. So, like, she'll find like a
cankle.
like a random fingernail, like not a fingernail end, just like a full.
Just a nail, just some clippings.
No, just like a full fingernail, like it was ripped off the finger, which is my thing. I hate that more than anything on earth. If anybody would ever want to torture me, that would be the thing, and then I would tell you whatever you want to know. So she's just finding fingernails and then like clumps of hair and just like weird shit all around her house, in her bathroom, in her cereal, like strange things. And so eventually she's collected all the pieces for some reason in her bathroom closet because she doesn't want to take it to evidence because she doesn't want to be implicated.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that she can't take it evidence because there's somebody on the inside that's working against her.
No, that's not it.
Yeah.
She's just worried that somebody's going to think that she's doing all of this to make her own career better. So she hides all of it. So this body is being stored in her bathroom closet, which if you're going to store parts of a body somewhere, that's not the best place. Usually a refrigerator would be good, in a sealed container.
Right.
So
Tupperware.
yeah, it's amazing stuff. Like real Tupperware, not this Rubbermaid bullshit. So the body starts reassembling itself, unbeknownst to our heroine detective. And so I say heroin because she also has a
drug
minor
problem.
heroin addiction. And
Opioids. We'll make it more contemporary. Opioids. She's down with the opioid addictions.
yes, which is very serious.
Because she went to the doctor when she was 12 for a knee injury, and he prescribed her some
naproxen,
opioids. Naproxen.
which is an anti-inflammatory. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any sort of opiate in it at all.
And so she got addicted to opioids, and she hid it the entire time she was in police academy.
She's
the
a
entire time she was
high-functioning
opioid addict.
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 So addict. So this chick starts reassembling herself in her bathroom closet. One day she's,
Hellraiser style.
a little bit of high. I don't really know how it works. And she's getting out of the shower, and she's reaching into that closet for a towel, and the lady bites her hand off, and fucking fade to black, and then we're done.
And then Jane Doe is autopsying her.
Yeah, with a bright light shining over
on
her
booby parts.
Yeah, like blurring out her lady
NCIS
her
style.
lady nibblies.
All right, well, we'll watch it and we'll see if that's
Is that what
anything.
happened?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Did you read about it?
No.
Oh my god!
I like to be surprised, too.
I guess there has to be mystery somewhere in your life.
It's definitely not this marriage.
Because we're honest and open with each other.
Mostly. All right, we'll watch it. We'll be back.
Or not. So we're back. We just watched the Autopsy of Jane Doe.
From 2016. What'd you think on first looksies?
I thought it was probably one of the scarier movies that we've seen thus far in this particular series.
Ooh, that's a pretty high mark for a movie.
I mean, sure.
If any of the Hellraisers didn't make that.
Hellraiser's not scary. It's just we don't need to go back down the Hellraiser road. We don't need to.
So this movie is directed by Andre Yverdal.
Rob's been working on his Norwegian accent for days.
He's an up and coming director for sure. He's directed a few movies. One that I just saw on my last trip called Troll Hunter. It's about a Norwegian troll hunter who is just jaded by his job, and it's a big government conspiracy, and they keep covering it up, but it's just like a day-to-day routine for him. It's pretty cool. Interesting director.
Any
you can
relation to the kids show on Netflix called Troll Hunter?
It is not.
Oh, our
No.
kids will be so upset. I mean, this was definitely it was a good film. It was well done. There were 4 characters in the whole film, and it basically takes place in a room.
Yeah, I mean the cast is probably about 6 people. Only 4 of them had any speaking roles.
Right.
Well, 5 if you count the sheriff.
Yeah.
It had Emil Hirsch.
Who played Austin Tilden, who is the coroner's son.
What's cool about this one is he's not a punk kid.
No,
It's
he's
not
he's a good kid.
it's not like they're like fighting each other the whole time. It's not like he wants to break out. Now you find out later on in the movie that he may have aspirations to not be a
Right, but he's got like those like parent obligations where he doesn't want to leave his dad, which is so sweet. Like what a good son.
and his dad is played by the fucking Super Troopers himself, Brian Cox.
I did not realize that's who that was.
When he came on screen, I was like freaking out. I can't remember his name from Super Troopers,
Fart.
but
What was his
he
name?
plays Tommy Tilden, the coroner in this.
I know it. I've seen Super Troopers literally 1,000 times. It's something.
O'Hannigan? Hannigan?
O'Hannon.
O'Hannon.
O'Hannon?
Is it O'Hannon?
I'm pretty sure.
We're looking it up. I'm going to narrate as Ashley types into Google. She's unlocked her phone. She's typing it in. Super Trooper. Enter. Oh, there it is. Okay, she's got it. And
Shit, I clicked on
I
the
want
wrong
to say
one.
Flanagan. Why does Flanagan sound right? O'Hare? O'Hagan? Osteoporosis?
O'Hagan.
I said O'Hagan, didn't I?
I don't know, but that's who it is.
Okay, so he played O'Hagan from Super Troopers.
I knew he looked so familiar, and I could not place him.
Man, if you just asked, I would have told you.
Well, I don't need your
This
help.
whole thing could have been avoided
I don't need your help.
if you just reached out for some help.
As most problems
So
can be
proud.
solved.
So proud. Then you had Ophelia Lovibond as Emma,
Who
his
is
girlfriend.
Austin's girlfriend.
Austin's girlfriend. Who is really creepy.
Yeah,
We'll get into that.
I didn't like her. I think he could do better.
And then Olin Kelly as Jane Doe.
Jane Doe.
And
Jane Doe is tits out naked the entire film.
still the entire film. Like, she doesn't move at all.
Isn't she like some sort of yoga person?
Yeah, they said that she was really into yoga, and it was good because she's still the entire movie, and like there's points where like in the process of an actual autopsy, they would like prop your head up or prop your like back, arch your back up. So it's like, try to imagine just being in that position for the entire time that they're filming. That would take some
She never
insane
moves.
flexibility.
She never says a word. She never blinks her eyes.
Well, I read that some of that is augmented by CG, but she's really good at staying still, which is why they hired her.
So before we go any further,
But I gotta say,
oh,
best acting job for somebody who does not do anything in an entire film.
but she also did everything.
Yeah. So let's start off with the production cards, because
Okay.
I like production cards. So this movie was produced by 3 companies. 42, which
Wait, I thought you said 3.
Hmm?
Is it 3 or 42?
yeah. Oh, you got me. When I was researching 42, I think 42 could possibly be a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide.
Or Bill Clinton? Wasn't he the 42nd president?
Was he? I'm sure that's what they were doing. They were doing an homage to Bill Clinton for their title. They only have like 8 movie titles to their name, so they're pretty new.
Yeah.
And then I Am Global. Would you like to guess what their biggest picture is right now?
I'm guessing something about space.
Would you think it's a horror film?
I would... No.
What do you
Yes.
think it is?
Yes, I do.
I will say it just won a lot of awards.
Moonlight?
Nope.
La La Land.
Yep.
Really?
They produced La La Land.
Huh. Interesting.
And then the third one is Imposter Pictures, which didn't find much information about. But
Well, that's because they're imposters.
and
They're
then it was
jerks.
distributed by IFC Midnight, or Independent Film Channel's Midnight.
It always reminds me of IPC. The
IPC,
Insane
yeah,
Clown
right.
Posse.
Their Midnight brand, or Midnight label, we'll call them labels, is responsible for a lot of films that we will watch and have watched.
Mhm.
Grabbers actually was
Okay.
distributed by IFC Midnight, but they specialize in like genre pictures, and if you go to the website, they break it down by like Alien, monster, vampire. Like they get in depth. And then at the final one it says erotica.
So they also do porn.
They do porn. It's pretty cool.
Didn't you want to work in porn for a
I
while?
would love to direct a porn movie. Like just once.
Like, why?
It just seems like so much fun.
It seems really tedious.
Yeah, in a fun way.
Okay.
Now, the way they did their production cards in this movie, they blended them all together into like one thing that led to the title of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a ground with like grass and leaves blowing across it.
Right.
Did that make any sense?
Yes, it made perfect sense.
Why?
Because they found Jane Doe in the ground. People are buried
Under a
in
house?
the ground.
She was so like dirt. Like why not just do it on dirt?
People are buried under the ground. That's a pretty normal, like, the ground is where we put dead things. I don't know. To me, it made perfect sense.
I could go with that. Like that seems like a legit answer.
Yeah. See, if you had only asked.
Now, do you actually think that's what they were trying to do, or is that just
I mean, I didn't actually think about it until just a second, but
until you just threw it out there?
but this sounds good to me.
Okay, so we open up on a crime scene
Mm-hmm.
where everybody in the house has been massacred.
There's like 3 dead people inside of a house.
And
It's an older couple and a man that appears to have like broken into their house.
then underneath in the basement they find a half uncovered naked lady.
We see tit
Yes.
like 3 minutes into the movie.
Boobies for days in this film.
Oh God.
I mean, it's not bad though. Like we said, she stays perfectly still. It didn't feel exploitative. It
mean,
was just served the purpose
It
of the
is
film.
exploitative, but in the way that it's supposed to be, because like later on we find out like who this woman is, and like she's very vulnerable like the whole way through, because she's just this young dead woman who's lying naked on an autopsy table being cut open over and over and over again. And so that's like as vulnerable as you can possibly be. And so I think that the nudity just kind of lent itself to that, to the vulnerability of the whole thing. But it's not treated like a sexual thing in any way.
No.
I mean, it's fully just utilitarian.
And every single person in this film is an upstanding citizen.
Yeah.
There is not one shithead among them.
Right. There's no, like, skeletons in the closet. There's no bad people. The only, like...
Just people dealing with pain.
The only, like, really, like... I don't want to say, like, off-guard thing that we find out is that, our main character, Tommy,
Brian Cox.
Yeah, the, coroner, or the mortician. I can't decide if it was a morgue or a...
I think he served as both.
Yeah. But
Seemed like a family business that also like worked with the local police.
Right. But his wife had committed suicide.
Did you?
Like 3 years earlier.
I never picked up on the fact that he committed suicide.
Yeah, I remember he said that he was... It hurt him a lot to know that his wife carried that much sadness inside of her. And that he couldn't help her before it was too late. And now he has to carry all that around, and his son has to carry all that around.
Huh? I missed that part.
Very
So
sad.
so they discover this naked lady in the basement.
Yes.
And
And the sheriff remarks...
but she's pristine. Like she almost looks like she doesn't even have like dirt on her.
Right. Yeah, she's totally clean. No rigor mortis.
No bruises, no cuts, no nothing.
Right.
They get her to the morgue where we are introduced to Austin and his dad.
And back up when we're still in the house, the sheriff remarks that it doesn't look so like there's no signs of forced entry. There's no defensive wounds for any of the people that were dead inside the house. He said it doesn't look so much like someone got in as it looks like they were trying to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was very interesting.
Foreshadowing.
So we get introduced to the coroners because they're playing like a rock montage.
Their
Autopsy of this dude, and you watch them like the autopsy stuff in this. I'm sure if I looked it up, it's probably pretty accurate.
I mean, it looked like they did some homework.
Yeah, they do all the right cuts. They turn people into suits.
Basically,
You get to watch them like
Human
take all the
suits.
organs out. They remove the brain. Like if you are queasy at the thought of autopsies, this film will take you to that queasy place because it looks pretty accurate.
But it's not handled in like a gratuitous way. It's the same way as the nudity. It's just matter of fact. Like, it's just there because it needs to be there.
Yeah, and these people actually exist. Like, this isn't Hellraiser Bloodline where, you know, the guy's just sawing into the other guy just for the fact that it's gross and they're trying to, like, throw it in your face. These are coroners doing what coroners do.
This is like 6 Feet Under. Do you remember that show?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fucking heartbreaking show. But I mean, the way that they handle...
like death and what the job.
Right. It's matter of fact as it can possibly be.
Yep. It's clinical. It's methodical and it's gross. So it's just what it is.
Yeah.
If you're not into that, don't watch the film.
Yeah, it'll gross you out.
You'll see them pull some dude's head back and pull out his brain.
Whenever I was a kid, my dad used to deer hunt a lot. We're from Texas. Everybody deer hunts in Texas.
Mm.
He very rarely actually shot any deer because they're hard to shoot, I guess. I don't know. But he shot a lot of hog. So we were dropping off the hogs at the loading dock in the back. And someone had killed what looked a lot like a moose. But it's not possible because there aren't moose in Texas. I don't know. Maybe it was just a big-ass deer. The
classic moose deer.
They had taken the top of its head off so you could see its brain, and it was just laying on the ground like that, and its eyes were still intact, so it was just like looking out at you, and you could see its brain. And I was probably 11 years old when I saw that, and I remember every smell. I remember like everything about that moment, and it still makes me queasy.
When they're at the house and they're identifying this girl in the dirt,
Right.
the sheriff actually tells us, he's like, hey, for now she's a Jane Doe. Like, that's our title.
And now we know who she is.
You get introduced to Tommy, who is a ducky. Like, he is Ducky from NCIS.
Oh, yeah.
NCIS. Like, he was knowledgeable in all things, and he have all the wisdom that you need.
Well, you got the idea that he'd been doing this for a really, 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 really long time, and he's very, very, very good at what he does.
And he's teaching his son the skills and the trades and how to think differently.
Right, so his son can take over the business.
And he says something that was really cool. I never thought about it before. He gets asked, doesn't it just eat at you not knowing how these people died and whatever? He's like, our job is to know how they died, not who killed them.
Our job is the how, not the why.
Right, and like, he was completely fine with that. And
I think you'd have to get to that place, though, where, like, you could be okay with not knowing why. And, I mean, if you've done it for that long, and people do horrible things to each other, I think after a while you just start to accept that fact, that sometimes there's not even a why.
And beyond that, like, he understood that that was just one part of the puzzle.
Right.
Let's go back to Ducky. Because it seemed like every episode Ducky would find himself in a position where he was solving the crime.
Right. He was never just the coroner.
Right.
He was always, an integral part in figuring something out.
So they just finished off this autopsy of this guy who blew...
He looked burned.
Well, okay, so that's how they introduce how smart or how good he is at his job, because his son is explaining how this guy died.
Right.
And he says he died of asphyxiation, smoke inhalation. And he's like, no, we didn't find any smoke in the lungs. So even though the body is extremely burned, the cause of death was contusions in the head or whatever, because he had fallen. So you have to really not just look at what's on the surface. You've got to dig in deep and find out what's really going on, and don't bring your preconceptions of it in.
Yeah.
You've got to keep an open mind through the whole thing.
Which is good advice for literally everything in your life.
So they just finished off. His girlfriend shows up, and they're going to go on...
Austin's girlfriend, the son.
Yes, and they're going to go on a date. It's jump scare, because she pops up behind him.
Right.
And she wanders into the morgue, and she wants to look at the bodies, which is creepy.
And he's like, no, I don't think you want to. There's some stuff that you can't unsee. And she's like, I'll be fine. Just show me the bodies.
Yep.
Like, that's just kind of strange.
So creepy step number 1 is she wants to look at the bodies.
Yeah.
Nah.
No, thank you.
Don't want to.
No.
So then the dad, creepy step number 2, is like, no, go ahead, look at the bodies.
So she picks one And they pull it out, and it's a woman who is, I mean, obviously dead.
Mhm.
And her
Old and dead.
her eyes and mouth had been sewn shut.
Yes.
So then she says, no, that's not the one I wanted. So,
Which, by the way, he thought that'd be the easier one to show her.
right.
That one's the haunting one.
Yeah,
Like,
that one's creepy as
pull out the one
fuck.
that has the sheet laid over the top
Yeah,
of it.
let's do that.
That one's gonna give you nightmares.
So he pulls out the one in the middle, and it's got a sheet over its face because the person had blown their own face off with a gun.
And a bell on the toe.
It had a bell on a string wrapped around the person's ankle, and the dad explains to us that that's because
In the olden day.
morticians of old would attach
Ye elder morticians.
would attach bells to dead people in case they weren't actually dead.
Mhm.
And he said that he's into tradition,
Yeah, he's a traditionalist.
which I appreciate. Like, I know that we don't need to do that anymore. Like, we don't need to do a lot of things, but sometimes the tradition is just
You better believe if somebody were to die in this house and I have to wait for somebody to come pick it up, I'm gonna have all kinds of like traps and shit set up around it, just on the off chance that it's coming back to life. I don't think it
Traps?
will.
Why do you need traps?
Like trip wires and fucking.
Now, I just want to stop you there for a second. You're afraid that they will come back to life?
I don't know for sure.
You make fun of me all the time for getting freaked out about, like, ghosts and shit.
Yes, the conceptually, I don't think it's real. I really
Right.
don't. But if there's a dead corpse in the house, are you kidding me? That's the time to go to DQ. You know what I mean? Like, hey, the
Intellectually-
body is in the house. We'll be gone. Let us know when you get it, and we'll come back.
Logically, I know that there are no ghosts. And during the daytime, it's very easy not to believe in ghosts. But at night, when I'm all alone, it becomes slightly more possible.
I'm just saying that something about like being with a dead body that
Have you
would
ever been around
that would
a
cause
dead
you to
body
do
before?
weird things. I've been to a few funerals. I've never seen somebody die. What about you?
I've never seen anyone die.
So she's looking at this dead body with the sheet over it,
Hmm.
and she starts reaching for the sheet. So creepy alert number 3.
Yeah.
She wants to remove the sheet.
To see the blown off face. No,
Yes.
you don't.
So it's obviously a face that's like got an indentation in the middle where the sheet is
it's not
coming
even
in.
there anymore.
So why would you want to see that?
I don't know. Some people, I don't understand this. Like, people
It's time to let this girlfriend go.
you don't need that in your head. You just don't. You absolutely do not. And this bitch is fucking nuts.
She's reaching for the sheet, and the dad rings the bell on the foot.
Right.
So she jumps, everybody laughs, and goes on. So was it planned from the beginning?
Yes, he was fucking with her.
Right, he was, but was the son also?
No, he didn't want to do it. He was like, no, I don't think we should. And he was like, yeah, let her see, let her
But the
see.
way he was laughing afterwards made it seem like they had planned the thing together.
I don't think
Or this
so.
is a joke they play on a lot of people.
I think, I don't know. Maybe it's been done before. I didn't get the idea that, like, the son was, like, in on it.
I wrote down nothing like dead bodies to get a girl going.
Oh, because she was, like,
She was like
She got-
super interested.
she got pretty handsy afterwards.
Did you notice that the cop that wheeled it, like the sheriff that wheeled him in, he was looking very distraught?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's got three dead people and a unknown dead person in his town in one house. That's got to be pretty fucking weird. You got the idea that this is not normal for this town.
I realized that morticians may be the only people still using Polaroids.
That's not true. Teenagers.
So I was trying to think
Yeah.
what other workflow would work for that.
No, you'd have to.
Could you do like a digital camera that prints out immediately and then you could just hang it up?
I mean, I guess you could, but Polaroids seem a lot easier.
Ooh, Wi-Fi in a morgue. That'd be funny.
No, I think Polaroids would be the easiest.
You could put the Wi-Fi password on the toe tag.
Rob, that's gross. Don't be disrespectful.
For this imaginary idea I have in my head. They have a cat that runs around and it catches mice in the vents and dumps them in their lap at random times.
When Jane Doe shows up, the cat,
Hisses at her.
yeah,
It's like, what the fuck's hissing at a dead person for? Something's up with this.
Well, and the dad says that cat gets meaner every day.
Yeah.
So they start examining her, and they find out that her wrists and ankles have been fractured.
Yep.
But her skin is perfect. There's nothing wrong with her,
Almost porcelain.
and she's covered in peat, which is a kind of dirt
Yeah,
or
dirt.
moss.
It's like a dirt that they don't have around there.
Right. It's like under her fingernails, it's in her hair, it's everywhere. Then they open her mouth, and her fucking tongue was cut out.
Yep. Cut out or burned off? I think it
No,
said.
cut out, like sawed out of her head.
They also discovered that her waist was way too small.
For her frame, yeah.
But they say they won't know what's wrong with it till they get on the inside.
Right.
Because there's 4 stages to an autopsy.
Right. What are those 4 stages, Rob?
I'm trying to remember. Stage number 1 is the external assessment, I think it was. Stage number 2 is the internal assessment.
Mm-hmm.
What was stage number 3?
The organs?
Yeah, that sounds right. External, internal, organs, and then brain.
Right.
I think that was basically what it was.
So while they're looking at everything, a fly comes out of her nose, and her
And blood
nose
starts
starts
bleeding,
bleeding.
Blood starts
Which,
bleeding.
why? I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you ready for my question?
Sure.
It's going to be a doozy. Why are flies always associated with, like, evil things?
Well, since we just looked it up, Beelzebub is known as the Lord of the Flies.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to remember something like that from Diablo, the game. Something about that.
What, flies?
Yeah.
What's interesting is when we looked it up, it said that flies, mosquitoes, and maggots are all associated with, like, evil.
Mhm.
And when we lived in Florida, we lived in kind of a swamp area, and there were, like, the mosquitoes were crazy. I mean, it was insane. Like, you couldn't walk from your house to your car without just being covered in them. It was gross. But neither you nor I are actually allergic to mosquitoes. We can get bit all day long and not whelp up or get itchy spots. And someone that we were close to was visiting us. They remarked about us, you know, being atheists and not being allergic to mosquitoes, and that possibly is because we were protected by Satan.
I don't remember this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you told me about that.
I'm pretty sure I did, but it was wrapped up in a lot of other crazy stuff.
This led me down a rabbit hole of looking up all the times that a fly landed on Obama. People are like, see, it's evidence.
Okay, so then we find out when they're looking inside her mouth that she has a molar missing, and the dad, Tommy, pulls a string out of her throat.
Mm-hmm.
They do an internal exam. She had suffered vaginal trauma, and they said it didn't look so much like she had been raped as it looked like she had been deliberately cut, like
Yeah.
inside her vaginal canal,
Mm.
which sounds horrifying.
Yes. They also got a vial of her blood, and he puts it in the fridge, and immediately the blood explodes in the fridge, and it gets
Yeah.
over everything. They go ahead and take out the organs. They find a flower inside of her intestines. And something wrapped in cloth in the other one.
Well, they find also that
the
her
tooth wrapped in the cloth.
Well, they find that her lungs are severely blackened.
Mm.
But, so he said, well, maybe she's a smoker. And the dad said no. In order for her to have lungs like this, she would have to smoke 100 packs a day for 100 years.
And then
But it looked like they had been charred.
yeah, and they keep coming back. They're going, if you see this kind of damage on the inside, what would you expect the outside to look like?
Right.
And this is not it. Like,
Right.
just pure pristine. By the way, we went back to this talking about how she's naked the whole time. They turn her into a person suit at
Yeah.
this point. They cut her open. You see them flap open the skin. It's one of those shit got real moments. This girl who's a real girl, you see them deglove her as a human being.
Yeah.
And just split her open.
They crack her ribs with a pair of, garden
shears. Yeah. So while they're cutting her open, the dad cuts himself on her.
On her ribs.
And in my head and out loud, I was like, "This is the vampire thing. They're gonna bring her back from the dead. She's a vampire, and she's coming back to get them now." But I was wrong. It's not a
100%.
vampire story. They also find out that the reason that her waist is so small is because she's been wearing like
A corset.
corset her whole life. The cat gets killed, gets
It
injured,
it gets mangled.
mangled in the vent.
Yeah.
And the dad takes the cat, who you find out is like the mom's cat,
Right.
and breaks its neck. And for some reason, I jumped a mile when they did that.
You sure did.
I don't know why. I was still expecting something bad to happen.
Usually that's me that does that.
So the dad has to cremate the cat. While he's doing that, the son continues the autopsy.
So he walks back into the room, and one of the drawers that they keep people in is cracked open.
Yes,
Like it's
it
open
opens
to crack.
up. Yeah,
And he walks over to shut it, and the whole time I'm yelling, no, 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 no.
so they only have 3 bodies in like 6 drawers.
Right.
The top drawers are empty. The bottom drawers are full. The top right drawer opens up, and he walks towards it and closes it. This doesn't seem like something that would just happen, because these things are clasped shut.
Right.
There's something up.
Yeah, it's
At
not,
this point, I would think somebody's punking me with this body.
right, it's not just like a draft. So like those
Right.
things will just blow open.
This is something you should really evaluate before you continue anything else.
Right. So at this point, the dad comes back in, and then they get back to work on the autopsy. They pull what's called Jemison weed out of her intestines, which is a kind of flower that's like has like a sedative quality, like it.
Again, I
It's
was
like natural roofies.
yeah, right. And they were like, this is something that would paralyze somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they just took it out of her.
Right. It's like,
she's
well,
coming back to life.
put it in, put it back in.
Put it back. Put it back until you can figure out why it's there.
So, subplot, there's an incredibly bad storm outside.
Yes.
They're listening to the radio the whole time. Somebody keeps cutting in and saying, like, oh, the store's picking up. Don't go anywhere if you don't have to go anywhere. There's power outages.
Also, the radio keeps switching to like an oldie station.
Like a creepy
Where it's
oldie
playing
station.
it's playing the "If You're Happy and You Know It" song. Was that what it was?
No, it was something else, but it was just like someone singing a cappella, like this really creepy, like little kid song. It was really weird. So they also get into her intestines and pull out a sack, and it's like a scarf-looking thing. It's got a lot of writing on it,
Yep.
and inside it
Roman
is her
numerals.
missing tooth.
And some star symbols.
Yeah,
Some occulty looking shit. So I'm like, okay, she's an occult member or something like that.
right. Which,
So, so they're investigating this a little bit, and then they hear something,
yes, the door closes.
and they hear
Oh no, wait. So, back up a tick. The dad starts looking at her skin a little more closely and
yes,
realizes that she's wearing a skin suit. So, he separates her top layer of epidermis from the rest of her, and on the inside of it is a bunch of like satanic spells and shit.
the length of her body.
Yes.
And as soon as he does that, like the power goes out,
The door
lights
locks.
explode.
There's some shit.
It's pretty cray cray. And when it comes back to all the
The drawers are
the
empty.
drawers are empty. Like
And the
bodies
dad
are
looks at the
gone.
son and he goes, "Let's get the fuck out of here."
Yes, let's go.
And it's like, yes, let's get the fuck out of here.
Because in an earlier scene before any of that happened, the son was like, "I think we need to stop.
Yeah,
I
he
think we
was
need
like,
to stop this."
There's something creepy going on. We need to leave.
And
And
the
in my
dad's-
head, I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
let's go right now. But I'm also not a mortician,
Right.
so like, I wouldn't have been down there in the first place.
so they run to the elevator to find that the elevator's out,
Right.
and they hear a bell in the hallway, which
Yes.
we only know of one thing in this entire building that has a bell on it,
Dead feet.
and it ain't got a face. So
Right.
they run to the office and they
Barricade
themselves in. Not that it matters, because these are not physical creatures. These are like ghosty creatures.
I mean, we go back and forth. We have a physical creature, and then we have a ghosty type creature.
If you think about it, every time it actually attacks them at all, it's just like invisible creature.
Yeah.
But the dad gets attacked in the bathroom, and he gets some bruises.
I mean, I think his ribs are broken.
You think that's what it was?
Yeah.
But they get out of there, and they decide the only way to end this is to find out what's going on with her. So they go back in to continue the autopsy.
Well, they decide to set her on fire.
Yes.
They were going to try to cremate her, but then the door was locked and they couldn't get out. So, and there was the scary lady with the sewn shut eyes and mouth was standing outside the door. So they decided instead to just light her on fire, which seems like a really bad idea because you're in an enclosed space. You've got a lot of chemicals down there. Like, you've got formaldehyde, some, like, very, very, very flammable shit, and you're setting a fire in a basement, which seems like a recipe for death.
Right. And so the body burns, and then they put out the fire, and you find out the body did not burn at all.
No damage at all whatsoever to her skin. Everything's fine.
They come back when they came back in the room, they also discovered that the organs that they had taken out had decayed.
Right.
Like-
Rapid decomposition, they called it.
They also removed her brain.
No.
No, they removed a section of her brain.
They took a sample from her brain.
Right.
A very small sample.
So yeah, you see her brain at some point.
Yeah.
And
Well, they scalp her. Like, they just, they cut off the top of her head. They use a bone saw and everything.
And so she's still alive.
Yes.
Well, okay. So they start talking about what could possibly be going on, and they discover they put it together that the peat that they're talking about came from like New England area,
Right.
and they place her.
Because we're in Virginia.
They date her to about the Salem witch trials.
Yes. And the dad is like, well, that's not possible because the Salem witch trials, it was all fake. There was no actual witches there. And the son was like, well, we've got one right the fuck here.
So he realizes that what they had done to get her to admit to being a witch, and what they had done to her for being a witch, possibly turned her into one.
Right.
So all the torture, all the things that they did to...
All the, like, incantation spells that they tattooed on the inside of her body.
all the things they made her swallow, which they did to her in every single way,
Yeah.
actually caused her to become like this immortal creature that's just constantly in pain and living.
Yes. Like, she's... So they take a sample of one of her organs, and they put it under a microscope, and they see that it is still living tissue. So she is conscious, she's alive, she can hear and see and feel everything. But she's just dead also.
Yes.
Which is honestly a pretty horrifying thought. Which is why I would love to be cremated instead.
But apparently if this had happened to you, you couldn't be cremated, because
Right.
the fire did nothing.
Well, don't let anybody write shit on my skin. That's your job after I die. That's your only job.
Just make sure nobody's writing anything on skin.
Make sure no one turns me into like a weird,
Skin puppet.
like, demon person.
They are on the run to the elevator that they hear activate. Like, the elevator comes back on. And so they run to it, and they grab an axe, and they're being chased by...
By the toe monster. Or the bell monster.
Yes.
The no-face guy.
So the door starts to shut, but the elevator doesn't shut all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're bracing themselves for this thing coming around the corner.
Right.
The dad axes it.
In the chest. And lo and behold, it is our girlfriend.
She came back.
To go on a date. And she got axed in the goddamn chest.
So they get in the elevator. Is that where the dad was talking about it? Is
What?
that where he explains like the mom's suicide and all that?
No, it was that was actually after the cat died, where he starts talking about the mom committing suicide.
So I have written down, best time to talk through emotional problems is after axing your girlfriend and sitting on the floor of an elevator.
You know what? Maybe it was at that point. I think you're right. I think that was it. That was when they talked about it.
Yeah.
Because the dad was like, I've really just fucked everything up, like, for a long time.
So they get out of the elevator, go back into the room. They figure that if they just like close her back up and all this other stuff, then they can, because this whole time she's just been splayed open on a table.
Well, okay, so they cut into her brain, and they get a tissue sample, and then the son starts reading the cloth that was in her stomach.
He folds it over because they couldn't understand the inscription,
Right.
but he gets the idea to fold it over.
So what it said on the cloth was Leviticus 20:27. Hang on one second.
Gonna get a Bible lesson.
From the atheists.
It's the best kind. Never more snark than when an atheist reads the Bible.
All right, let's see. Leviticus 20:27 says, "A man or woman who is a medium or a spiritist among you must be put to death. You are to stone them. Their blood will be on their own heads. Excuse me." So we
Does
find
it go
out.
on to say, yea, you also must insert things into their intestines and remove their teeth and feed them to them and
No, I feel like that was just some weird shit that they did.
burn them to a char and...
No. So, so we find out for realsies that she's a witch.
And the dad, in an altruistic move, is like, I'll take your pain.
Yes, he says if you'll
let my
son live, leave him alone, then I'll take all of your pain. Let me have it. Let me help you.
But apparently he could not deal with it.
No. So she transfers it.
Yep.
She breaks his wrists and his ankles.
Yep.
She breaks his ribs.
He starts
But we say she's doing these things. She is still on the table. Like, she's not
Right.
moved. She's
Never
not
moved.
blinked. Like, she never gets up. Like, this isn't like a jump scare thing. Like, she is doing all of this stuff through the spirit world or
Right.
whatever.
She's more of like omnipotent presence at
Right.
this point.
Like, nothing physically ever touches him. She's just breaking him.
Smoke starts coming out of his mouth. He asks his son to
stab him.
Which I think is breaking the deal because that's not taking the pain.
I don't know.
So he does. He stabs him with the scalpel.
I mean, reluctantly.
Yeah, right. Although he did just murder his girlfriend. So
I don't think there was any sort of ill will about it.
you know, a little bit of give and take there. Then the son sees an opening and hears somebody in the outside calling, like banging on the doors that have been like. So the storm had blown over a tree onto their escape route that they would have had without the elevator.
Right, because the storm was like crazy bad.
So he runs to where that is, and they are just saying some crazy ass shit. And he's like, "Wait a second, maybe this is all in my head." And he turns around, and his dad's standing there.
Right.
And that freaks him out, so he falls over a ledge, and he dies.
Right.
Then the police find them. The girl is completely put back together.
Yeah.
Like, they had put her back together.
As she was killing the dad.
Oh, yeah, she was reforming.
Reforming.
So, she's completely...
She had like a Frank moment.
So, basically, this is the same scene he walked in on the first one.
Right.
It's a bunch of people dead. One person got axed in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
One person dead on the floor and stabbed by a scalpel. And then the son had committed suicide by falling over the rails, what it looks like.
Right.
So he calls for them to take the girl out of his jurisdiction, like just get her out of here.
Yeah.
So the final scene of the movie is her in the back of an ambulance. The driver is driving, and the radio changes to an oldie station, and we go down to the end of the stretcher
To her feet.
to her feet. And her toe twitches.
And a bell rings.
And a bell rings.
And then we're done.
The end. Roll credits. I liked it. I like this film a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Again, if you are queasy at the thought of like humans that are just meat puppets, then probably not the movie for you.
Right, yeah. But, I mean, it wasn't gratuitous. It wasn't anything disgusting for the sake of being disgusting. Like, it was all very clinical.
So, would you say that this film is gory?
I mean, I guess. But it didn't feel like gross gory.
Right.
It felt like gore with a purpose.
Right. Every single horror moment was something that was just like, oh, an invisible force is touching me,
Right.
or invisible force is attacking me. The gore came from like autopsied bodies.
Right.
So this very clinical idea of what it was.
Yeah.
But it was like probably very detailed to what you would see.
Yeah.
Was it nightmare? Was it scary?
Yes. I'd say it was one of the scarier films that we've watched so far. Just because it's kind of... There's a lot more tension. Like, they built tension well, and you keep expecting something to happen, and then it never actually does, and that's kind of amazing also.
Was it nightmare inducing?
I did have a bad dream
Okay,
after
cool.
we watched this.
You finally got one. You got you a bad dream.
Hooray!
I mean, yeah, I could see how this could easily be nightmare inducing.
But, to be fair, I also ate
Crackers.
dinner too late that night, so that could also be why I had a nightmare.
There's more of gravy than of grave of you. And then also, is it worth watching?
Absolutely.
With the
100%.
caveat that you can handle the gore.
Right. It was very, very good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I recommend it to anybody who's brave enough to handle the gore.
Be brave.
Be bold.
Be original.
Be frank.
Be frank.
Hellraiser.
Oh, fuck,
Coming
man.
soon.
No.
Ba-ba-da-ba.
No more Hellraiser. Ever again.
So I would do the box office, but it was pretty much just distributed by IFC Midnight, which means that it didn't hit a lot of theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really not a lot of box office to talk about. I couldn't find it anyway, which is kind of a shame. This film deserved
It deserved
more
something.
attention.
Yeah, it was
than it
it
got.
was good. I appreciated it.
But that was the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Thanks to Brandon Tuzio for our theme.
Yes, the intro and outro for our show that we fully do not deserve that he made for us.
And if you like what we're doing, rate and review us on iTunes or whatever podcast you use. And tell us what movie we should do next on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, all at Scaredy Cat Pod. Other than that, got anything else to say about this movie?
Jingle jangle.
Bingle bangle.
Mm-hmm. That's what I have to say.
It's too late to twist the ankle.
What?
Maybe that's what they said before they buried her.
I bet that's what it is. You know the who are those people? The Puritans or whatever?
Yes.
They were fucking freaky people.
But that's it. Until next week. Adios, muchachos.
Jingle jangle.
Bingle bangle.